back, so I'm from St Leonards in Glen Waverley, and we, I guess, use the Informer package for reporting, just so you know where we're coming from with that kind of thing. I think it was at the end of our last review, so we're currently in review at the moment, but it was at the end of our last review period, and I think at that time, there also came out the new guidelines for reporting. And we didn't do any formal process of feedback from parents, but it was just conversations we had. And as I changed from a role being a classroom teacher to being teaching and learning coordinator, I guess those conversations became more important when, a little bit like it wasn't personally about the report I actually wrote. Not that that was it, but, you could ask those questions without feeling though the reports you wrote for their children. But a lot of the comments that we got were that they felt that the reports were all computer generated anyway, and I don't know whether it was because of the Informer packaging that came with it or that the change from what we'd used to have, but they felt that they were just all generated anyway. They were reasonably impersonal. They didn't think there was much personalisation between the comments on achievements, what the school will do, and those sorts of things. So basically there was a feeling of it was reasonably impersonal. We did include in our reports a Word document at the end that spoke about work habits, and the feedback we got from the parents was that they opened the report, they looked at the dot page, they read the general comment, which was the personal comment about the child, and they looked at the behaviours and work habits checklist. They really didn't read the rest. And that also the comments that we made on what they can achieve and how they can improve were either everybody got the same or they didn't really understand them. It was a lot of teacher talk, they didn't really know what it meant. So in discussions from that feedback, and I just put in there what our results were on the Inside SRC or the School Improvement Surveys, that I don't think it was worse than anywhere else, but we had an actual score of about 70 and 75, but we were at the 29th percentile and then the 45th percentile. So, it wasn't a strength, obviously, in our school of the reporting process. So we then, in 2013, had a discussion, and we didn't consult parents on this necessarily. We consulted after we did it, but we said, well, if they think they're computer generated, teachers spend a lot of time writing these comments that parents don't read, and we spend probably more time trying to edit them. Is there a way we can just make it computer generated? It's clearly obvious everybody's getting the same, but actually make it more specific to what we would expect of the children at that level. So we did go through the process of creating checklists that they have evolved over the time, but we created checklists just for English and maths. We didn't do it for all the areas. It's a ticker box, and the teachers teaching in the levels at that time were the people who generated the comments that went in there. So they looked at what was required in those what they felt was part of being at standard in that level, and what was some things that were a snapshot of what it included, and it was to become parent-friendly language, not to be too teacher talk. We did also limit them. You had one page for English, and we initially tried to say one page for maths, but as you get further up the school, it was one page for number, and then another page for the other areas of maths. So the other thing too was the guidelines changed, and we didn't have to include the comments for what you can do at home and what the school will do. And we also believed that the checklists had the scope to show achievement and show progress, or what they need to work on. So we said those comments we also don't need to do now. And they had the checklists were included as a Word document at the end of the report. We have revised them. We're just in the process of revising them again. We initially started with a 5-point checklist. We have shaded an area to try and indicate it's standard. We've taken the shading off. We've now gone to a 3-point scale, which has helped improve things and make it clearer for teachers on making their judgment. And you can see that we went from 2012 being the 47th percentile, and in 2013 we actually went to the 79th percentile, our parent opinion on those surveys about our reporting. So we also put our letter in every report to the parents to gather feedback, and all the feedback we got from parents was positive. We got not one negative comment or response to the report checklist. They felt it was clearly stated there. the improvements and adjustments all came from teachers in going, okay, well, you have got children who may be getting all their marks down one side of the checklist. How do you show what they've achieved if their ticks are all here? Or how do you show achievement if their ticks are all up the other end? How are we managing that? So there have been adjustments made. For those who are performing and diagnosed as performing below, we will modify their checklists so that their report does actually show achievements on what they're expected to do through their personalised learning plan. But that's basically how they look, and they're modified constantly. You know, we come back and talk about, okay, what does that skill actually mean? How would parents, what does it look like? How do you get your data for that? Does it meet the standard? And that's been our main thing of going, this checklist is at standard, so we have to then be fair on how we mark the children being at standard. So we have found it a really a positive way of doing our reports. It makes it easier for the teachers as well. They're not writing those comments, and they're easy to talk to parents about. The parents understand the skills involved in those sorts of things.